Hi folks, it's really important. Just bear with me, I get everything set up. So we're going to talk about radiation, and I want you to think about a couple of things. You can't see radiation conventionally. You can't smell radiation. You can't pick radiation up. You can't feel it. You can't hear it. But that doesn't mean it's not there. You can't decontaminate radiation. You can scratch up the topsoil and get rid of the high count particles till it rains or wind blows it. But you can't just decontaminate it. You can't. I can't. Right now we have reactors. 3 reactors are melted down. We don't know where the cores are. Nothing else really matters besides that, but there's so much more. Think of Chernobyl, where one reactor went down and they abandoned 100 miles. Some people did stay, but it's not because they didn't try to get them out of there for good reasons. There's 600,000 rods in Fukushima. Nobody knows where they're gone. Remember the hydrogen explosion? That was about a mile high. And so the tsunami was never washed out yet. So a lot of that got... That's why you see the open air water fissions just off the coastline of Japan, is because some of them rods have made it out there and debris and fell off or tipped over. And there's 400 tons a day of water that they're pumping into the tanks, and that water's coming from, because they're spraying water on the melted reactors, and so they got to spray water on it constantly. Somebody has to be there. They can't abandon the site per se if they want to try to contain it, not contain it, but to try to. It's hard to call anything like this minimizing or mitigating or anything like any kind of words like that don't fit in a radiation conversation, right? You go look up articles on radiation, peer review academic journals. You won't find any words like decontaminating, stuff like that. These are just conjectures and outrageous lies. There's 600 tons, according to the New York Times, in 2011, going into the ocean every day. Not just once, but every day. And that picture you see, I better make sure I'm sitting in the right direction for those pictures. Hang on. Yeah. So as long as I lean this way, I'm okay. I won't. Not that anybody cares, but just for my own peace of mind. So there's 600 tons a day hemorrhaging, and it's going over all these rods. It's going around those 3 melted cores. And so all of it's hot, and that's why they're putting it in tanks as quick as they can. But do you understand what goes on here? Can you really truly comprehend what we're talking about? You won't let your children play around those tanks, let's put it that way. Let's move on for a few moments. Building 4 has 5 full nuclear pools above ground. The 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8, or the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th stories are nuclear ponds, and they're full of unbelievable amounts of radioactive rods. And those rods have major damage done to them. We're going to cover that a little bit more in a bit. But the building is tilting. They've been spraying water on the ground for 2 years. And so this one is a huge concern, not only for one pool in particular that have hot rods in it. It gets very confusing, I know, but it's important. We'll try to, just to give you an actual, what all the experts and all the best stories out there are trying to explain to people. It's very important that you understand everything I'm saying here. It's very important you watch everything I'm doing here, and that you just sit there and digest it. And I would love for anybody to make a video and prove me a liar. You'll be my hero, okay? I'll take every video I got on the internet down. Those 5 nuclear pools are on top of building 4, right alongside of his reactor 3, and that one's melted down and has MOX fuel in it. And it's missing. All the top floors are missing. All the rods that were above it are missing. And they got blown, hopefully. I shouldn't say hopefully. I'm just saying hopefully there's some kind of something here. In 6 years, the Pacific Ocean is not going to have no life. The picture you're looking at is based upon 280-day model. And we're already 2.5 years or more into this. But they never took into account, they just took into account a few of the big original spills, came up with this model that you're looking at. And so what I'm telling you now, and what you know, and what you can go out and research, and just go check everything yourself, is that with 600 tons or 300 tons, whatever, every day going into the ocean is not in the model. And so that means that model is wrong by about 1,800 times, roughly, or more, certainly. See, a lot of this, you got rain coming down on Fukushima, all that water's coming out. You got snow, all that water has to come out. You have underwater aquifers, all that water's coming out. It has to run around the cores. It has to run past all these hot rods, right? So if I took one of those rods and I put it in a lake, say New York or something, where the water supply, they could never use it ever again. So imagine, I'm not laughing, but imagine 600,000 of these rods. Imagine 3 melted cores. Imagine building 4 with 5 full pools still there, and the building is tipping over because you sprayed so much water the foundation has become liquefied. The ground all around that entire site, because the entire site is full of rods, so they have to spray that entire site. And that water is the water they're trying to catch and pump into tanks, but you can't sustain it. And so when you get big rains, for instance, you're going to get massive spills, not counting what's actually all that rain is washing out. And when you go down to the shoreline, the tsunami destroyed all the pumps, and that all the pump housings, the basements are all full of radioactive water. The tunnels all around this place are full of radioactive water. You can't access anything. And in less than 6 years, because of the way the currents flow, the entire Pacific Ocean. Now, if I take radiation, put it in water, that kind of radiation that we're looking at, fish without skin will come off them immediately. They'll die immediately. There's no oxygen in the water. There's no food in the water. There's no biodiversity left in the water. And there's a 3,000 kilometer zone outside of Japan where there's not even a turtle or a bird or shark or whales. There was one whale seen there. Remember the Australian Herald just ran that story a couple of days ago about the yachtsmen, the wealthy yachtsmen that ply these oceans in luxury, and they've never seen anything remotely like it. It was an apocalyptic 3,000 kilometer. I can't remember how long it takes to do that, 28 days or something, in those sailboats. And they never seen they've seen 2 fish. They've seen 1 whale with a big tumor on its head, flopping around. Okay. There's 2 articles that are really, really, truly important. Fukushima Apocalypse. It's on RT. Years of duct tape fixes and could result in millions of deaths. But as you go down the article, they say billions, because even the tiniest mistake when you're extracting those 1,300 rods, that's in that hot. These are hot rods. Will release these noble gases. It's an odd name, I know, but And those gases are so volatile and so deadly that you will have to withdraw from the site itself. And so if there's nobody on the site, now this is important to read, and I'm going to dive into this a long, long way, because the ponds were distorted. And so a pack of cigarettes, if you distort a brand new pack of cigarettes and try to pull a cigarette out, or distort it, you're probably going to break a couple of the cigarettes. And they're not as fragile as those rods. They're not as brittle as those rods. And you have to extract all of it. It has to come out of there. The building is tilting. And so if you got an earthquake and the building is already destroyed, and the top 5 floors are full of 100, each one is around 100 tons of rods and then 30 feet of water. And think about they're sitting on top of the building. And so if you have an earthquake, the water inside of that will cause like 3 inches of water on the deck of a boat. 3 inches of water on the deck of a boat, and the boat rolls over, the water rolls, see? And so if there's another wave comes in and hits you, then you could actually roll. It's called floundering your boat. And these buildings are in that same position, but see, they're already tilting. And they have structural damage, particularly building 4 that we're talking about right at this particular second. There's 400 tons worth of spent fuel rod stores in the pools at damaged reactor number 4. And you got to do the removal manually. This has always been done. It's never been done manually. It's always been done by a computerized crane, and the original crane was destroyed, and a lot of pieces are in the fuel. So the first thing you got to do is, on each one of these ponds, and the first one in particular, is they got to remove the debris on top of the rods before they can remove the rods. And so think of 2 batteries, and you lay something down, connect the 2 positives, you're going to get a reaction, right? And that kind of reaction is what we're talking about at this moment. And if that happens, they have to evacuate if they don't actually blow it up and kill everybody at that particular moment. Like the hydrogen explosion that you've seen that happened down there originally. Have you ever seen that in another nuclear plant before? No? Of course not. It's never been seen before. And so that hydrogen explosion that we've seen originally, that detonation, and it's not a nuclear detonation, it's the gases, it's these toxins that are, because the rods, if the rods become fractured or brittle and they try to remove it, and it's already fractured and now it's already brittled, it will reactivate the releasing of gases because it's already unstable. And that's why they have to use a computer and a crane to do this, because it's insane to try to do it mad. And radiation will kill you in seconds. And so the people that are going to be working on this are going to be dressed in cumbersome outfits under enormous amount of strain with the entire world on their shoulders for $15 an hour. And they're going to have to change these workers constantly, so it's not like the workers that are going to be pulling these things out will have like a team around them that they're all buddies. These are all be strangers all the time because they got to keep moving these people. They're going to get their maximum doses quite quickly in that environment. You could not survive in that environment without all this equipment, and you can't survive even with all the equipment for very, very long, and you're going to get hurt doing it anyway. And they're talking about conscripting people now in Japan. I'm not making none of this up. I'm just repeating everything. And I'm going to good media. But you can't leave those rods there. That's not an option. Because they're already statistically in a lot of trouble. And we're not talking about the build up in the ocean for a few seconds here. We're going to keep going on the rods. It's dangerous and it's complex because the integrity of the pools have been compromised, but the job has to get done. They're going to try to mitigate it by getting some of it out there, and if they have an earthquake while they're trying to do that, game over. If they have any releases of gas, game over. And so that means all the other reactors will melt down because there's nobody on the plant. And if there's nobody can get in there, then that means the pumps and electricity goes down. And with rods all over Fukushima, oh my goodness, they're going to have to evacuate the northern hemisphere. The racks inside the pool that contains the fuel were damaged by the explosion, which we were talking about. Zirconium cladding, which encases the rods, burned when the water levels dropped originally. But we don't know how much damage, but we do know there was the fire in there, and that's what it was. They're saying it was. We got pictures I done in that second last video that we jacked from TEPCO. That shows inside the pool with all the debris that they got to move first. And saltwater cooling, because they're just spraying water in there randomly, has corroded everything. And so everything is more brittle, more dangerous, and we don't have the luxury of a computer controlling and doing everything. And we don't have people with experience because no one's ever done this before. And the operators are going to be shifted out constantly, continuously. If they're showing any metal fatigue, they're going to be excused from the job permanently, right? You only get in there, get so many rads in your editor, so many becquerels, and you'd never go back in that. The building is sinking, and the crane that normally lifts the fuel was destroyed. And that, because the computer now can't be done. So it can't be done without humans. And these people are going to be bombarded with radiation during that extraction and the casting. And you have to repeat this process 1,300 times just for that one pool. There's 5 pools on top of that cracked, damaged, and destroyed building with debris everywhere. It's the most unbelievable job anybody can ever imagine. It's the most important job that we can ever imagine. You know, I can't imagine the look on your face if somebody asked you to go do this job, to go in, suit up, and go get your becquerels, go get your rad counts. $15 an hour, $1,000 an hour, $5,000 an hour, $20,000 an hour. Nobody in their right mind would do it, see? You do it... So, if there's an issue, or the structure sustains further damage or collapse from a typhoon, or strong winds, or the thousands of earthquakes they get there every year, because it's already on a completely unstable, where they sprayed all this water, and so there's liquefaction going on in the ground all around Fukushima because they're just pounding the water in there. They can never stop that. And all that water runs out into the ocean and fills the ocean up. We've never seen anything like it. And that the models that are saying that over 6 years, but that was just this small release they're talking about. They're not talking about the emitted now 600 tons, 300 to 600 tons a day, every day, non-stop. That is confirmed, but there's probably at least 3 times that because of the groundwater, because of the way the hills are bent, because of all the damages, because all the tunnels are flooded, because nobody can actually get in there and find out. It's an apocalyptic scenario in a nutshell. And that and this is considered trivial, that the Pacific Ocean is radiated and killed all life, can never survive in that ocean. There's no oxygen going to be in that ocean. It's going to kill all the biodiversity immediately as it moves. Anywhere it moves, it leaves no life behind. It's worse than what I had said before, where I said it would change everything's DNA, at least do that. That was just a small plume. But this massive amount will actually choke the entire Pacific. And a lot quicker than the 6-year projection, because that's based upon, even though the currents, but that's still based upon. So Japan right now is totally in a sarcophagus of radioactive. They can't escape it. And they're completely surrounded. But the entire Pacific, and Canada has a lot of coastline in the Pacific, and that's the end of that. Your real estate is worth nothing once this goes out there, and it's going to go out there. It's truly it's like looking up and seeing a meteorite coming at you, but much worse. Because at least with the meteorite, it's going to be over. This is going to be hell on earth. This is going to push everybody out of the northern hemisphere. That's why you see the police state. That's why you see all the ramping up of the TSA. It's got nothing to do with terrorists. It's got to do with when this finally breaks, everybody's going to bail on the Pacific Rim, obviously. Right around the entire planet on the Pacific Ocean, they're going to bail as this breaks. They're bailing now, make no mistake about it. The people in the know, Helen Calicut, she's gone at a BC, British Columbia. It's grave time, my friends. Very grave times. They're going to try to keep life goes on, routine, and try to keep the structure that they got, so it's just a fable. It can't last. We're lucky in Canada. Right? I'm very grateful to be in Canada, even though we're going to get pounded beyond imagination. Most of our country will be obliterated in 5 and 6 years because of the massive, unstoppable hemorrhaging that's coming out of Fukushima. You can't stop it. You just can't stop it, see? And the damage is done, right? They've already done that damage over the last 800 days. And their model is based upon a small release over 287 days, not on a massive release every day. That's okay, go ahead. Yeah, sorry. It's not a video I want to make, believe you me. Is that a bit better? I'll yell and then everybody can hear me, but it'll probably get distorted. And I'm not sure if this is my last video or not, by the way. Because that's how I felt all day yesterday and all day the morning, that this is my last video I'll be ever making. Because I certainly won't be doing any more blogging. And if you never caught all of this video, you need to watch it after. It renders and pops back up, folks. I won't be making any decisions today about my future blogging. But if there is future blogging, it'll be just to inform and organize people, and I'm not making nothing up, by the way. So let me keep going here. We're gonna have to bail from the Pacific Rim, worldwide. Not have to. You know, when the word goes out what's happening, then they're gonna try to stop it. Right? They're going to try to stop it from becoming a cascade, but you can't. Look at the picture I'm showing you. That's based upon a model that is only a small, tiny percentage, less than 1% of 1% of what's actually came out of there that's emitted now. It's 600 tons a day. See, that model's not even based up on that much. And this is an academic peer-reviewed model you're looking at of the Pacific Ocean itself. Yeah? I just want to make sure, right, that everybody gets this today. It's not something... Okay, let's keep going, folks. This is so important. And there will be quite a bit of background noise. I need it. There's nothing I can do about it. I can hear it jumping in again. But pumping water out of the building means more water is going to flow into these buildings. Right? And they can't keep up with what they're doing anyway. They're doing a show and tell, right? Oh, we're building more tanks. But you can't stop what they already done. And they just admitted to it in the last couple of weeks how much has been actually truly coming out of it. But they actually admitted this back in 2011 in a New York Times article, that there were 600 tons a day coming out. They haven't stopped that since. And then you got all that groundwater running out around these reactors, 3 melted reactors, around these 600,000 missing rods that were blown all over the world, down, or all over that Fukushima Prefecture's nuclear power site. And so the fuel pool is damaged. Everybody agrees on that. We got the pictures, we got the videos. I put out that video a few days ago, and that was the videos that I used were the most latest from TEPCO. I'm not sure, Dominic. It's a very grave thing. So the people that got to go in there and do this, they can't stay there, and they don't get to see the whole job That's right. So how do the potential consequences of failure to ensure safe extraction compare to other disasters like Chernobyl was one of the questions. There's no comparison. Chernobyl was a reactor that became fission. And they abandoned everything. There's 3 reactors that nobody even mentions. Because you have to stay there. And keep pumping water on all these rods and all these reactors. Because the gig is up, man. Billions are dead if they can't. They can't do anything to the Pacific. Even if they stopped it right. I'm trying not to swear. If they stop it right now, that model you're looking at on the screen is wrong by 1,800 times. Because their model is not based upon 800 days of massive tonnage coming at it. It was only based upon the original releases and dumping, and then they claimed they had containment. But then a couple of weeks back, it's confirmed every single day, one for sure. It's 300 to 600 tons coming out of that, hemorrhaging out of that. Just one dose like that is enough to destroy the Pacific. And so it kills all life. Nothing can live. If you fill up your fish tank with radiation, I can assure you they're not going to be swimming around, okay? It destroys the oxygen molecules. It destroys the entire life that's in the ocean itself that the tiniest invertebrates have to live on for the food chain itself to survive on. And so you eliminated that just on a single plume cruising through. Imagine what 1,800 times that we know about is going to do to that. And you're going to end up with, if you leave it, it's going to be cascading effect there, where everything starts pyroplastic. Everything starts becoming fission, because there's no water on it. Everything becomes like the worst possible scenario that they ever imagine. It becomes truly easy now because there's nobody there, and you can't contain, like the genie in this bottle is now in the Pacific Ocean. Is history. Wrap your mind around this and believe it. It's not a joke. It's not a mistake. It's not an accident that I'm saying any of this, that I'm fabricating anything. Believe you me, I wish I was. I wish somebody will show up here and says something. I don't know what they could possibly say at this stage, but let me keep going because I'm sorry. The top 6 floors are pools, and they're all loaded with fuel that eventually will have to be removed. But the reactors 4. And even though reactor 3 got all that MOX fuel and it's in really bad shape because it's missing, they call it bad shape, I call it missing. It's melted down into the earth. That's Chernobyl 1. And right alongside it is Chernobyl 2. And right alongside that is Chernobyl 3. And we're looking at Chernobyl 4 because the building is tilted. And like I say, I'm not going to digress and go over everything too many times because people are going to have to rewatch the video that they missed if they're just joining us, if anybody is even. Yeah, rip the audio, download the video, rip the audio, and then email the audio. It's a small file. That's what I would do with it. And then give them a link back to the video itself. Or other people, right? Because they already heard me. And what I'm giving you right now is is just the last couple of days, what I dragged out, and what I realized. Because I decided I was wrapping my mind around this about 5-6 days ago. I got a turkey in the oven there, you might hear once in a while. So, let me get down to the other part, and then I got another article, and we'll be finished on that part. So this has never been done before or attempted before. The rods are heavy, each one weighing 2/3 of a ton, and there's no way to encase this entire building and contain it because nuclear material like this, where it's so volatile, becomes much unstable. It becomes unstable and could blow apart, and then you'll never get in there to deal with it. So you're going to try to deal with it and contain it by putting it. You can't take it out of water because it ignites, and releases the noble gases, and you have to evacuate the entire site. Okay, and all of this collateral damage will continue for decades. So the plumes you're seeing coming out into the ocean, what you're seeing there is a day's plume, see? 2.5 years ago. That's what these models are. And there's 800 of these plumes, what they call, that is out there right now. And the ocean is going to fill up with these plumes, but it's not going to stop coming into the ocean. And so that radiation gets pushed now by the winds inland and surrounds continents as that ocean surrounds small countries that are actually on the ocean, on the Pacific Rim itself. Anarchy will follow, and billions will die, as it is now. Yeah. And now there's another article out there you can look up. It's called 28 Signs the West Coast is being absolutely fried with nuclear radiation from Fukushima. And that's Michael Snyder. He's a lawyer. And so he's not going to be putting out all kinds of nonsense. He links to each one of these 28 signs to mainstream media. For an emergency. The first one was the Nuclear Emergency Tracking Center. It shows the radiation level at all the radiation monitoring stations. Now, a lot of people got a misconception about this. They think they can go down with a Geiger counter and get a radiation reading. And sure you can. But those radiation Geiger counters that you're going to go buy are for low radiation. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't wait in between, you screw over the thing, right? Because it has to take a particle into your Geiger counter for it to analyze it, right? To sniff it, see? It actually sniffs that particle in there and mixes it with 4 up to 5, 6 gases, depending on what. But you need different types of Geiger counters for different types of radioactive particles. And there's 1,300 man-made particles that we don't even know what most of them are, because that's military secrets. Don't want the enemy getting hold of that kind of information. Death of us. Let me go on. You got all the polar bears and seals and walruses dying all along the Pacific here. Fur loss and open sores. And trying to blame it on smallpox and chicken pox. I like to smack someone in the head for that one. Because that's an outrageous lie, see? You're not even finding snails. You're not even finding starfish. And herrings are bleeding from everywhere. And epidemics of sea lion deaths. The Pacific coastline of Canada and Alaska coastline, the population of sockeye salmon is at a historical low. Many are blaming Fukushima. The fish all along the west coast of Canada is bleeding from the gills and their bellies and their eyeballs. Which is, see, the way the ocean currents work, they whisk it away from Japan right over to us. I'm right here on the British Columbia west coast of Canada. Those 26,000 islands up the coast from me, that I know so well, that I dove among for 14 years. I actually always thought I could go up there if there was never an apocalyptic event. That's radiated. That's all dead water. There's no oxygen. There's no marine life whatsoever going to be there in the next year or two. You know, certainly nothing that's there now can be ate. You'll never eat from the Pacific Ocean again, okay? Period. Ever. Hi, Hans. Yeah, Miss Milky the Clown site, number 1 in particular. Thank you. Yeah, I love those people. I send them hugs all the time. Fantastic people. They're not making money off all that time, all that energy, all that research, all those links on their videos, you know. That's hard work. And I know how much work it takes to make a video. That's why I'm doing the live stream, because I'm just worn down, you know, from 8 years of filmmaking. But I'll never blog about politics, or Israel, or GMO, or pharmaceuticals. Ever. I'll never blog again. Do you get that, folks? You get what I'm really saying to you? Because I understand it, I get it. The picture that you're looking at. I'm doing this so that, you know, more people have a chance, because they're not going to tell you, they're not going to warn you. In fact, as this goes out there, people are going to panic. And people are going to get stuck all along the Pacific coastline right around this planet. Okay, martial law is coming, make no mistake about it. They got no choice, see? Because the looters will show up, and the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Magna Cartas all have this stupid thing in there where the government has to protect you. Right? So if looting starts, then they have to tear up all these checkpoints. We're lucky because in Canada, the Canadians, right, most of them will be taking their family and running. But where are you going to run? Huh? Where? Because that's not going away. What you're seeing on the screen there, that's not going to go away for a couple of million years. Okay? What are you going to do? Take all the ocean water out? Where are you going to put it? Going to drag in another planet and pump it up there? You got any idea how much water we're talking about? There's only little land. Most of it's water. And it's a big radiated soup bowl. Now, if you can even call it that, soup bowl implies you can eat, so I shouldn't even call it that. It's a big toilet bowl where there's no oxygen, where there's no microlife can exist, because the radiation will... Think about how peroxide, when you spray peroxide, which is only an extra oxygen molecule, on the microorganisms, how they explode. And then think about what the radiation can do, how it's creating energy, so it fries everything. So that ocean you're looking at is actually going to get hot. And oh yeah, global warming. You have no idea what's coming down the pipe. Real fast too, okay? This is not going to take a decade. And so you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacific Ocean turns into the sun, because it's so much radiation that it becomes its own unhinged. I think that's the only way you can really truly explain it. I can hear my turkey screaming for me to go over and base it, but I'm not going to. I'm almost finished here. It's still got a couple hours to go. I'm talking low, I know. I'll try to finish up. So high levels of cesium-137 in the plankton living in the waters off the Pacific Ocean between Hawaii and the west coast. Now that's an older one, but and the waters around America and Canada, they're projecting at least double over the next 5 or 6 years. But look here, right? Look here. When you listen to those types of story, 73% of all the mackerel had radiation. 91% of all the halibut. 92% of all the sardines. 93% of all the tuna and eels. 94% of all the cod and anchovies. 100% of the carp and the seaweed and the sharks and the monkfish had radiation poisoning. Not 1 in 3, but 90 out of 100, 92 out of 100, 93 out of 100, 94 out of 100 of these species. And independent researching, woo, folks, we're looking at a Pleionian, is that how you pronounce it, event, where we're going to see all the species die off right now in the Pacific, everything, right from the very tiniest all the way up, and where everything on the coastlines, which is the ecosystem, did. And there's that ocean comes in and hits the coastline, it usually makes waves, right? So now the spray that goes up will be misty evaporations of radioactive water going up into the jet streams and being carried. Yeah, a lot of people are going to hate me after they watch this video, I can assure you. I can feel it coming right now, and I don't deserve it. I'm just trying to warn people, but I understand the implications, and so do you, I think. But the Canadian authorities are finding extreme high levels of nuclear radiation in certain fish samples. 1,000 becquerels. 1,800 will give you cancer in 4 hours. So what's 1,000 going to do to you, right? You're ingesting that. You get it inside your body, close to your organs, and it's still pumping out these becquerels, right? Per minute and per hour and per day at phenomenal rates. You're done. You're finished. You just need one fish like that, and you're 6 months or a year down the road, you got a big tumor hanging under your arm. You can't get your arm back down to your side anymore for the rest of your life. And the whole system's going to come defunct. Looting is coming in the next couple of years. Say 2 years. I predict by 2 years they can keep it under. I think they can. My personal opinion is for the next 2 years. Unless this video, even if this video was to go viral, not that it would, they got me clamped down. Everybody understands that, right? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to fabricate. I'm not going to make anything up, right? I source everything. I vet everything before I open my mouth. And when I sit here in front of a camera like this, it's because I got no choice. Because I feel obligated. And BBC News has recently reported that radiation is up to 18 times higher than previously believed around Fukushima. That's nothing. So you got to realize that the coastline of Japan, that current is flushing it out into the ocean. And so when they do readings out there, it seems okay. But if they don't know what they're doing, those things won't give you an accurate reading. If you don't wait in between the readings, if you go and say, I'm going to do a test ride with this new gadget, you're not going to get an accurate reading ever after. You actually got to know how to use these things. You got to understand. You should go read Geiger counters so you can actually appreciate what you're learning when someone talks about Becquerels and stuff like this. You always have to ask yourself, do they actually know what they're doing? Are they using the right kind of equipment? Did they excite this and not wait? Because the numbers won't get as high. They'll get lower numbers if you don't wait, see? These are very finicky things. You really, truly got to have practice. What are you going to practice on? They don't actually expect anybody ever to use these things. They're meant for low radiation. You need a special radiation to read the high radiation. You're not going to buy one of them in a shop, okay? So the people on YouTube and everywhere else, yeah, it might be a bit of an indication, okay? But it's not an actual number that you can put any weight or fate into. Yeah. Yeah. Miss Milky the Clown, look, check on each of their videos. And they put lots of links down there. And they're really frustrated at this stage. They've been at this quite a long time trying to warn everybody. They've done a fantastic, incredible, unbelievable job. Heroes, man. You can't imagine how much energy and time it takes to do what they've done. It's not just Miss Milky the one site, it's her other site, her other site, Miss Milky the Clown, original site. Amazing amount of videos. Amazing amount of information. Okay, let me finish up. I don't know if I can ever finish it up, but 210 quadrillion becquerels of celsium to the atmosphere, according to the EU. Within a few days, it was over on the west coast after the accident. That's the fastest it travels. It's confirmed there's 300 tons of contaminated water pouring into the Pacific Ocean from Fukushima every single day that we know about. It's probably double, triple that. And just one shot of that is enough to create the wasteland we see now as the Pacific Ocean. Realize the picture that you're looking at alongside of me is, it's 5,000 or 6,000 miles across and 7,000 miles from the low part of my screen to the upper part of my screen. And that's certainly not all the Pacific. And if you go look up the ocean currents, and I suggest highly you do this, inform yourself, get educated yourself, do your own research, look up the ocean currents and look up the jet streams. And you might have to go over to Springer or Wiley or Elsevier and pay 30 or 40 bucks to actually get your hands on true academic journals so that you can actually really trust that information to make your decisions in the future. But get a job now for anything, start saving up money, and get moving in the next 12 months to wherever the jet stream is not going to load it all up originally. And yeah, you're going to have to abandon the entire Pacific Ocean within a year or 2 years. Hopefully it's orderly. Hopefully there's not too much looting and murder going on. I predict all of that, definitely. And hopefully, Canada, we're so lucky. I keep saying that, I know, because I know how lucky I am to be in Canada. Because every time I kind of think I'm in America. What would I wouldn't want to be in America right now. Right? They're implementing everything at this stage, folks. Let me keep going. So there's 30 billion becquerels of radioactive celsium and 30 billion becquerels of radioactive strontium being released into the Pacific Ocean in Fukushima every single day. Okay? And that map you're looking at on this video, that's based upon 1 or 2 days waste, not 800 days, okay? But the current takes so long for it to move through the patterns. That's why they say it's a 5 or 6 years as the current moves this stuff, because it's so heavy. And it just, think about you're painting your house, and say your everything inside your house right now is white, and you got a bunch of friends over, and you're going to paint everything black. And You know, at some point, your entire house is going to be black. And there's not going to be no white left. And think of white as life, and think of black as radiation and death. And think of white as oxygen, and microorganisms, and microscopic food chain particles, and the very soup of life that was the ocean, that was the Pacific, that doesn't exist. We can't take the Pacific Ocean and just pump it out and restore all the life in there and put fresh salt water back in the Pacific Ocean and decontaminate the shoreline, the coastlines of the entire Pacific. Millions and millions and millions. We can't do it. It can't be done anyway. We got nowhere to put all this stuff. How are we going to get it onto another planet to get it off our planet? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Right? Where are you going to get life to fill up the Pacific Ocean with? If you can actually, you know, so a lot of people that says, oh, the government's going to deal with it. Shut up, boy. Seriously, girls, folks, men, women, children, scientists, doctors, priests, ministers, nurses, anybody, scientific professors would not, you know, you can't take the ocean and put it in a bottle to contain what's going on here. And you can't stop what's coming out of Fukushima, right? And so the ocean will move these currents. So as it's coming out, it's going to move right across to North America right away, right? And then it's spreading out. But it's doing this like circles, and then it moves further up towards the southern hemisphere. I'm not going to say what I want to say. I should say it, I guess, but I'm not going to say it. Okay, let me go. I only got another few minutes to go, folks. Bear with me. It's probably, like I say, it's probably my last video. I don't see any sense in me ever making another video. I can never make another video. I can't go out and yell at Mark Dice or anybody else again. I can never justify something like that again. Not looking at what we're looking at. And, you know, you'd be stupid not to look at what I'm saying here today for what it is. You'd be totally an idiot to ignore anything I say to you. It'd be totally naive and sad day. Very sad day for the human race, period. Because we're all going to be on the move in a couple of years, aren't we? Every one of us. Everything. And there's not going to be no safe haven. You can't escape those 1,300 isotopes. My goodness. What have we done? You can talk. Just... The ocean's broken and so am I. Take care.